Hi, I'm Anaklada Ashtin. I changed my name on my socials. So now we are going to talk about this subject, which is really important. She stopped explaining herself and everything changed. Have you ever stopped to think about how much of your life has been spent trying to be understood? Explaining your choices, trying to prove you're good enough, kind enough, quiet enough, trying to fit into molds you didn't even create. For years, you believed you had to justify everything: your body, your clothes, your loud laugh, your success, your need to disappear sometimes. But here's the truth: that habit of over explaining is a cage dressed up as politeness. The woman who explains herself too much is the woman who's still seeking permission. Permission is to be seen, to be angry, to feel pleasure, to want more. But here's what no one tells you. The moment you start explaining, you hand over your power. You put your worth in someone else's hands and wait for them to approve of your existence. And that drains you in ways you don't even notice. How many times have you said, sorry, that's just how I am? That's just who I am. As if being yourself were a flaw. As if you had to be a filtered, softer, more acceptable version of you. But there is a big difference between being polite and silencing yourself. Between being kind and erasing your edges. Between being diplomatic and becoming a shapeshifter who blends into every room just to avoid making anyone uncomfortable. And you know what's even more damaging? We learn to do this with a smile. Well-trained women over-explain swiftly, sweetly, gently, carefully. Okay. Just to avoid seeming too much. We even explain our silence. And over time, this chips away at our confidence. But then comes a moment, and this moment comes for every woman, when your body starts to scream what your voice has been afraid to say. Anxiety shows up like an unwanted guest. Sleepless nights become routine, and you feel like you've lost control of your own narrative. Not because you're too sensitive, but because you're tired of carrying everyone else's expectations. That's when some women wake up. They stop trying to please. They stop apologizing for existing. They stop watering down their words, their desires, their truth, and something powerful begins to unfold. When a woman stops explaining herself, she starts expanding. She takes up space with presence. She speaks with clarity. She wears what she wants. She chooses who stays and who leaves. She becomes her own priority, not someone else's afterthought. She realizes that confidence doesn't come from being liked. It comes from a quiet agreement with herself. I will no longer betray myself to make others comfortable. And that changes everything, even her image. Because image isn't just about looks, it's energy, it's presence. It's how she enters a room, how she stands, how she says no without flinching. A woman who no longer explains herself has a gaze that doesn't ask for permission. She doesn't have to be loud, she's grounded, she's whole. And people feel that, whether she's in heels or barefoot, wearing makeup or not wearing makeup. When she feels safe within herself, she radiates security on the outside. Because everything starts in the mind. It's like in the mind, everything. Like, it's psychological, it's emotional, it's vibrational. You want to be respected? Then stop trying to convince people. Confident women actually don't beg to be understood. They simply are. And those who get it will get it. Those who don't aren't meant to stay. We weren't made to shrink. We were made to overflow. And that overflow begins when you realize you don't have to explain your hunger to grow, your desire to change, your intensity, your freedom. Freedom doesn't mean doing whatever you want without consequences. Freedom means owning your choices and standing by them, even when they make others uncomfortable. That's real feminine power, not the kind that tries to mimic masculinity or hides behind fake smiles, the kind of power that comes from being real, from looking in the mirror and saying, I choose me, I respect me, I no longer explain me. And no, that doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you free, because arrogance screams, but security is quiet. A secure woman doesn't need to prove anything. She just lives in alignment, and that's enough. So if today you feel like you're constantly justifying yourself, if you're shrinking to fit into a life that no longer feels like yours, stop. Breathe. Begin again. The woman you want to become is already within you, waiting for you to release the version of you that was built on needing approval. Your beauty doesn't live in what you try to hide. It lives in what you're bold enough to reveal. Your power lives in your silence that doesn't shrink, in your voice that doesn't shake, in your image that carries truth. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be yours, fully, fiercely, without apology. The more you allow yourself to be whole, the less you need to explain. And maybe that's the secret no one told you. When you stop explaining yourself, that's when people truly start to listen.